What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review for Kings of Napa Season 1, Episode 5. So, we start this episode. August is asleep on the couch, and somebody comes into her house. Now, look, it looks like somebody took something out of the house. I don't know if it's the private investigator. I don't know if it's Quincy, because we know that he was working with Dana to try to get some dirt on her. I don't know. But anyway, it's somebody. It looks like it's probably Quincy, but I don't know it to be sure because he had on the ski mask and all that good stuff. She gets a phone call that morning from Grace telling her she needs to hurry up and get down to the vineyard. Come to find out, Christian done screwed up the harvest, okay? He done let grapes stay out longer than they were supposed to stay out. And Grace tells her, listen, Christian is screwing this up, and Christian is going to cost, not only is he going to cost y'all a whole lot of money, but I'm going to be out of here because I'm not going to put my name on a dessert wine that doesn't meet my specifications. So you need to get Bridget back here. You need to get Bridget back now. So August goes to talk to her mother and tells her mother, look, listen, I know you hate Bridget. I get it. But we need to get Bridget back here because if not, we're going to be in trouble. So her and her mother go over to Bridget's house to convince Bridget to come back to work. Now, while that's going on, we see Bridget talking to her mother and basically telling her mother, listen, it's time for you to leave. Like, you and Aunt Yvette staying on this couch and in my house and in my space, like, our relationship needs some help. And in order for us to heal our relationship, we need some space. So I'm going to need you to go somewhere, anywhere, but not here. So we can maybe work on our relationship, okay? Now, when they show up, Bridget is like, what y'all doing here? And August apologizes, and August tells her, look, I'm so sorry, but we need you back. Like, we love you, we need you back. And she said, I brought my mama so that you know that this is for real and that my mama wants you back too. And Vanessa was like, listen, I was wrong for taking out on you what happened with your mother did. Like, it wasn't fair. It was wrong. And I want you to know that you can have whatever you want to come back. You are part of the family, and that you are family. And, I shouldn't have took it out on you. But she does throw some shade at her mother and basically makes it seem like, you probably need to ixnay on the mame kind of situation. So August says, to prove that I'm really serious about this, my mom is going to New York for some sort of convention, and I would like for you to go with her. We're trying to find somebody that's going to do the label for the dessert wine, and that way y'all can really work on y'all relationship. Y'all can really talk about what y'all need to talk about, but you know that we're serious about bringing you back into the family and bringing you back into the company. So they're going to go to New York, child. We're going to talk about that New York trip in a minute. Now, Dana and Paris, isn't that her name? Rose is her name. I just made up. She lived in Paris. Okay. They done made up, child. They back on the good foot. But Rose wants to have a baby. And so Rose plans this little wine and dining and all of his favorite desserts and all his favorite food to try to, schmooze with him. And he was like, I know this. I know what this is about. What it is you want. What you want. And so she says, listen, I talked to my doctor. And we need to go to, we need to go to the fertility clinic because clearly we can't do it the natural way. So, and Dana, at first he's a little hesitant to it, but then he says, okay, fine, we can go to the doctor, But later on in the episode, we see him talking to Aunt Yvette. He tells Aunt Yvette, listen, at the end of the day, I really am scared about, basically he's saying he don't want to have a baby that's a little person. He doesn't want to bring a child into this world that's sort of to deal with the same challenges that he's dealt with. And she lets him know, she said, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I understand what your life was like or what the things that you went through. But what I do know is that God don't make no mistakes. And you are a beautiful, smart, intelligent, and that's what you're going to bring in this world, and you're going to love it. And so I think that sort of helps him, feel a little bit better. And later on in the episode, we see him at the clinic, doing what he got to do, Now, we see Aunt Yvette and Vanessa. Aunt Yvette is still begging to get back in this house. Now, this is what I don't understand. If Aunt Yvette is this rich, independent businesswoman, why is she so pressed to live in this house? Like, I get it that it's an estate. I get it that it's got, maid service, and it's probably got a little bit of everything you ever wanted. But if you are this beautiful independent businesswoman that's been making six figures, a year for the last however many years with your company, I mean, I know six figures ain't like $1 million, but you can live a decent life. Like, I'm just not understanding her being so pressed to live in this house. But okay. So she's talking to Vanessa, and basically she's trying to get back in the house, and she has a meeting with this distributor that Kings have never been able to get to work with them. And so she was like, well, listen, if I can land this deal, can I move back in the house? And Vanessa was like, sure, because it ain't going to happen. But, okay. I mean, if you think you can make it happen, fine. But it ain't going to happen. So, later on in the episode, we see her whining and dining the dude. She got the girls on display. She has, she's telling him stories about Oakland and going to the park and listening to Snoop Dogg on the radio and all of that. And he was like, you know what? He was a nice looking, older black gentleman. He said, you know what? He said, I'm really enjoying this. He said, I never, experienced, this before. He said, I've never wanted to do business with your family in the past because they so snooty. And I really don't have no interest in being around a bunch of rich white people. I mean, rich black people reminded me that they rich black people. So I'm really enjoying this. And, they got the flirting and throwing back little innuendos or whatever, baby. Next thing you know, they done slept together in the house that she don't even live in anymore. She's sneaking him out the back door. Vanessa coming in the front door talking about oh, well, I see you landed the deal. She was like, I did. So when can I move back in? And Vanessa was like, well, child, child, I mean, she said a promise is a promise. A deal is a deal. So I guess you gonna move your ass back in the house. And I'm thinking, okay then. So then we see Christian stressing because he's got this evidence against Bridget, but he's hesitant to share. We see him talking to his girl, the one that he was running through the vineyards with the other night, and she's telling him basically, if you need to say something, I'll go with you, And he was like, nah, I can't say nothing. Bridget is that's my half sister, and I really don't want to throw no dirt. We already got one man laid up in the hospital, and we don't know whether he did it or not. And now I got evidence that shows that he didn't do it. Like, it's messed up. It's crazy. So he finds out that August and that they getting ready to hire Bridget back, and that's when he finally has to tell August, like, oh, we might not want to bring Bridget back so soon because I found this evidence in her bag and it looks like she could be guilty. And so August was like, man, okay, this is crazy. I don't want to believe it. That's my, first of all, we just got in a good place with Bridget. So the last thing I need is for Bridget to not trust us and think that we up to something. Second of all, I just can't believe that Bridget would do this. Like, what would be her motivation? And in that moment, I said to myself, Bridget already knew that man was her daddy. I said, Bridget already knew that man was her daddy. I said that to myself as I was watching this episode, right? So, Christian was like, well, are we going to tell Dana? And she was like, hell no. Like, Dana already don't trust me. And, we already had that whole thing with button heads about the whole Otis situation. So, nah, we're not ready to tell Dana nothing yet. So, we see Calvin and August at, dinner. And they doing their little flirty flirt thing. They talking about what's going on with the vineyards. And she's telling him about the extortionist. And he was like, wow, like, I didn't realize you had all that going on. And she was like, yeah, we had this going on and that going on and the other going on. And he was like, well, you need to be careful. You need to keep your eye on, you need to be careful. And I don't think Bridget, and he was like, I don't think Bridget is guilty. I don't think Bridget would have anything to do with this. Now, let me be honest with y'all. I still don't trust Kelvin. And I think Kelvin might have something to do with it if you really want to know the truth of the matter. Hell, for all I know, him and Bridget might be working together, okay? Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Last week, at the end of last week's episode, I was like, I don't think Bridget had anything to do with this. I think she being framed. But now, I'm starting to think, you know what? Bridget all up and through this. Now, I don't know how far, how deep, and what her whole motivation is, but Bridget got something to do with this. Bridget got something to do with this. That's what I think. That's how I feel. So, while they sit there, they get a phone call from Quincy telling him that Otis is out of his coma. So they run up to the hospital to go talk to Otis before the police get to talk to him. And come to find out, Otis was up to some shady shit. That's why he ran from the police. But what Otis was doing was he was stealing grapes and making his own wine. And he was like, look, your daddy promised that he was going to help me get on. And he never did. And so I, I wanted my own piece of the pie. So, yep, I was stealing grapes and making my own wine. And I thought that's why the police, I thought y'all had ratted me out. She was like, so you weren't extorting us? He was like, no, I would never do that. He said, listen, I loved your daddy and I loved working with your daddy, but he didn't keep his promise, so I had to do what I had to do. But I would never, extort y'all. I wouldn't do that. I would just steal y'all grapes. Like, that's all I would do is just steal y'all grapes. So, now they back at square one because they're like, well, damn, who did it? What happened? How did it happen? Whatever. So, once again, August is like, I don't think that Bridget did it, but it's not looking good because if Otis isn't the extortionist, then who is the extortionist? So, Christian is like, listen, we need to let Dana know what's going on. And he ends up letting it slip in front of Dana that what it is. So, the three of them decide that they're going to go to Otis and they're going to, let Otis investigate. And Otis is going to put cameras in her house, in her car, in her office. And, of course, that doesn't sit well with August because she was like, well, listen, that's my sister. Me and her just got back on good terms. And I'm just not comfortable with that whole situation. I'm just not comfortable with it. But they got to do what they got to do because they got to find out if it's Bridget. And she has this flashback of Bridget basically saying, you don't know this side of me. When somebody get on my bad side, like, I could be real treacherous. And I was like, So then we see August have a panic attack. And Christian was like, you haven't had a panic attack in years. Like, you haven't had it, you need to calm down. And she was like, yeah, but I just can't, August is going to kill me. Like, if she finds out, she is going to kill me. And I'm not ready to die. Then we find out that Melanie, we saw last week she was having that shortness of breath and she was sweaty and stuff. So she went to the doctor and the doctor, said she got a bad rash and she's asking her about symptoms and she was like, yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, that happened to me. But ultimately, they don't really know nothing. She gonna run some tests. And she was just like, well, you've been down in, you've been in I think you said Western Africa. So, we got to run some tests for some things. But, in the meantime, you might need to let your family take care of you. And she was like, well, no, I don't want to be a burden on them. No, you ain't got no family that's going to take care of you because your daughter ain't speaking to you. Yvette just got back in the house. So, ain't nobody really thinking about Melanie like that right now. So, that's really what it boils down to, child. Now, while all of this is going on, Vanessa and Bridget are in New York having a great time, getting along really well. But Vanessa is basically telling Yvette, girl, you need to make a decision. You really need to make a decision about your mama. Like, it's probably best that you're not speaking to your mama right now. Probably best that y'all are getting some space from each other. But you're going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later. She said, matter of fact, let me show you something. So she takes Bridget to a mental hospital. And come to find out, they mama, a.k.a. Bridget's grandmama, is still alive. But she's in some sort of dissociative state where she comes out talking about Vanessa done picked up weight. And she's like, I told you ain't nobody going to marry you with them thunder thighs. So you can see what kind of woman we already dealing with, right? That's the first thing you say to your daughter. Then she sees Bridget and thinks that is Melanie. So she starts talking about, what are you doing here? Why are you here? It's your fault. It's all your fault that night. You did it. You should have been you, not him. And she gets up and tries to hit Bridget. And they have to, take her out of there, whatever. And so Bridget was like, who the hell was that? Like, what is all of this? Why you bring me here? And Vanessa was like, that was your grandmother. She said, my grandmother, all this time y'all told us that she was a recluse and she just didn't like being around people and she didn't really never want to have grandkids. And basically she been in this mental hospital, like that's where she been? Well, technically, I guess they didn't lie. She said, well, not only did she not want grandkids, I don't think she wanted kids too bad, honestly. She said, look, your mother was a wild child, okay? She was out there doing whatever she wanted to do, running them streets. And one night she came home drunk and high and got into a bad argument with our father. And he ended up dying of an aneurysm from the argument. Now listen. I didn't go to nobody's medical school. Okay? And I don't know how aneurysms work. But I did not know that you could get an aneurysm from one argument and it could kill you. That is a dangerous aneurysm. Anyway. So, August finds out that she's got cameras in her house. And, of course, because she had talked to Otis, and Otis told her, because she was like, she went to Otis because she was like, Otis, why you got cameras in my damn house? Like, you thought I was the extortionist? And he was like, you ain't the only one paying me. So, of course, she immediately thought that, she immediately thought about Dana. So, she went to Dana and was like, what the hell? Like, why are you, having me investigated? Like, what is it that you think? Like, what do you think you're going to find? And he was like, I was trying to get enough recon on you to get you out of here because you are weak. And I thought you were weak, and I was proven. You sitting over there pining after, Kelvin's wife. And I saw you looking at resumes for CFOs. You were going to oust me. You was going to kick me out. And she was like, you know what? You did see resumes because I was actually going to promote you because I was tired of fighting with you. And I was going to make you co-president with me so that some things we just wouldn't have to fight over. But it seemed to me like y'all would fight more, but okay. She said, so I was looking at resumes for CFOs because I was going to replace you and promote you. I already had the paperwork drawn up. But if this how you want to carry it, because he was like, I don't believe you. And she was like, well, you really ain't got to believe me. But, like, if this is how you want to carry it, all right, cool. Then this is it. Then this is where it is with us. So Bridget comes home, and she's acting very aloof. She's not really speaking to, because basically Vanessa basically told her it's either us or your mother. Like, if you in, you can't be halfway in. If you in, you all the way in, you got to cut your mother off, which I don't think is fair. Like, again, she's still her mother, and they have to make their own path. Like, you can't put your relationship with your sister on everybody else. And granted, your sister did some dirty shit. But you can't put that on everybody else. Like, that's not fair. But Bridget asked Rose if she wants to go dancing. And, of course, Rose is like, yes, we can go dancing. Okay, we can go dancing. So, they go out dancing, honey. And Bridget gets a phone call before they go dancing. Bridget gets a phone call from some white guy. It says, you quit your other job. I thought that was a part of your plan. I thought you needed them for your plan. And she was like, I got another way in. So that's when I was like, okay. And that's when I knew for certain. I said, oh, Bridget absolutely knew that Reginald was her daddy before everybody else knew. Because she already been, because that's what I was thinking. I said, if Bridget is the extortionist and Reginald's been going through this extortion for a year, then what that says is that if Bridget is the one that's doing it, then Bridget knew. She had to have known. Well, when she goes out dancing with Miss Rose, and they come back to the house, and she's talking to Rose like, she was like, well, can I trust you? And Rose was like, oh, sure, of course. And I'm sure Rose thought that all she was going to say was like, I don't know, girl, I overdrew my credit card. Like, I don't know. But she told her, she said, listen, I knew Reginald was my daddy. I've known for years. And she was like, but you said, so you lied? Because you said that you didn't know. She was like, I've known for years. She said, listen, Rose, you don't need them. Come with me. And she kisses Rose, and Rose is like, I can't do this. And she said, come on, Rose. Like, you don't need them. Like, they're, all the lies, all the treachery, you don't need them. You could be with me. And they kiss again, and Rose is like, I can't do this. And she pulls away. But, baby, guess who was watching the camera that they had planted in Bridget's house? Dana. Now, Dana did see Rose pull away and run out of there, but it don't matter, child. She sat there and kissed that woman twice before she decided she couldn't do it and ran out of there. But, like I said, we now know that there may be some validity to Bridget's situation, and she already knew Reginald was her daddy. Now, Kelvin and August, they go out on a date. They go down memory lane. They go to the old school where they went to high school, where Kelvin played on the football team, and August was a cheerleader, and she got on her cheerleading outfit underneath this nice Burberry trench coat. Girl, that Burberry trench coat was cute. Listen, Burberry must be paying a pretty little penny to be for some product placement, because they've been wearing Burberry for the last 3 episodes. I've been peeping it. I have noticed. Okay, and child, Kelvin and August, they consummated their new relationship, if you know what I'm saying, right there on the bleachers. Okay, so that was the episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.